right, and we are back with another episode of JR Takes. As always, Ryan and I coming at you with the latest NFL and Seattle sports news. And for today's episode, we got a little bit of a special one for you. We're going to be doing our first mock draft 1.0 of the 2024 draft class. But we're going to be doing it a little differently. In years past, Ryan and I have both done individual drafts of the first round. This episode, we're going to be basically doing not a snake, because we're just going to be going back and forth from picks 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll be doing the odd number picks, and Ryan will be doing the even number picks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good to be back. It's been a few weeks, but been out of town, but doing some other things. And now we are 1 week away from the NFL draft, so it's about time we got some draft content out there.
Yes, and I'm pretty excited just to be making picks on what I think each team will do, and you'll get the privilege or honor of doing the Seahawks pick, so that'll be kind of cool seeing.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I've seen, based on the draft board, it kind of seems like Fautanu is right there for the taking based on this particular draft board. I know everyone's draft board is kind of their own personal opinion, but
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what actually happens, because I feel like at the start of the draft process he was like fringe first round 2 kind of guy, and now I see some people be like, yeah, he's a top 10 pick. So
yeah,
who knows?
Yeah. So we can basically just start this off, Colby, if you're ready. We're, like I said, it'll be me making the first pick, and then Ryan, and then back to me, back to Ryan until we're done with the first round.
Yep.
Saw Mel Kiper and another analyst do it a couple of days ago, and I was like, oh, that looks fun. So that's the way we're going to do it. Then next week we'll probably give our actual, our own individual mocks, because we're not really going to be doing trades with this particular round unless, we both agree, all right, let's try to make a trade out of this pick for whichever team. But for the most part, it'll probably just be who we think the teams are going to be taking straight up, because it's kind of hard to make trades with this specific software because the computer is kind of a stingy prick.
Yeah, there's no force trade option, unfortunately. Yeah. Otherwise it'd be really easy.
Yeah. Try 1 or 2 just to see, but
yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, let's jump into it. So, who you got? The Bears taking number 1 overall. Probably pretty obvious.
Yeah, I got them taking Caleb Williams. That's just kind of a no-brainer. I'll be shocked if that's not the way it goes in the real NFL draft, but that's who I've got going to this.
It'd be a real Bears moment if they picked Drake May number 1
or
overall.
Or J.J. McCarthy.
That would be shocking.
The Bears receivers, they wouldn't take Marvin Harrison. They wouldn't even.
No, because they have DJ Moore and Keenan Allen.
Yeah, there we go.
And they have Cole Kmet. So it's and Gerald Everett. Do they really need another weapon? I don't know. Maybe, but
it'd be cool, but it's not like they need to do that.
And can you export this once it's finished? I wonder.
Probably, but they also, when you finish the draft, you can look at the final results, and then it shows you the draft board in 3 columns, That's 1 through 32.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So we got Caleb Williams there.
All right, so now with the Commanders at pick 2, this isn't really what I would do if I was the Commanders GM, but this is kind of what I think they're going to end up doing because I keep hearing it, and that's taking Jaden Daniels, number 2 overall. The upside is definitely there with Jaden Daniels. The Lamar Jackson comparisons, I think, are definitely warranted, but we forget Lamar Jackson was the 32nd overall pick. He was a bit of a project coming in the NFL, and I think Jaden Daniels kind of is too. I mean, his highlight, or not his highlight, but just watching his film is really kind of funny because there's a lot of amazing plays there, but he doesn't really like to throw over the middle for whatever reason. And he made some plays where it's 1st and 10, and he decides to take off and run directly into a defensive lineman for no reason and gets Looney Tunes cartoonishly just blasted. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. He's got to figure that out when he gets to the next level. But Jaden Daniels is the pick for the Commanders, and I hope it works out for them.
Yeah, I like that pick. I think I would have probably made that pick if I was in your position. I initially heard that. What's the old head coach for the Cardinals?
Kingsbury?
Cliff Kingsbury. I keep hearing that because he's their coordinator, Jaden Daniels fits his offensive style.
Yeah, I guess with Kyler Murray, it's kind of a similar mobile quarterback situation.
But yeah, good pick. And with the third pick for the Patriots, I got them taking Drake May. And I kind of based this pick around their quarterback room currently is Jacoby Brissett. Who's the other guy that is terrible?
Wow, how am I
Bailey
forgetting?
Zappi.
Yeah, there we go.
Should have wrote these down because there was no way I was going to remember those two names off the top of my head. Bailey Zappi, Jacoby Brissett, and now Drake May. And I made this pick with the intent that Drake May can probably sit behind Jacoby for the year, and even Bailey Zappi because he's only 21 years old.
Yeah,
and
young guy.
You don't want him taking a beat down his first year, which he probably will. They have no weapons in New England. So.
I'd rather just have Jacoby Brissett get killed for a year and have May sit. Maybe he starts at the end of the year kind of thing, but there's no reason to throw him out there week one with that current roster. It's bad.
Yeah, and usually you don't have too many quarterbacks like sitting their first year like Patrick Mahomes did in his first year, but I just feel like Drake May is so young and he has so much potential there that I could see them just being like, you're gonna sit on the bench for the first year, or maybe even the first 8 weeks, see where they're at. If the season's washed, I don't know. Maybe you throw him out there for a game or two to see what he's got. Maybe you just let him sit. We'll see.
I like it. I think that's a much better chance to not just ruin his confidence the second he gets into the league. So I like that pick, especially with your rationalization of what they do with him once they get him.
Yeah.
So number 4, the Cardinals. This is kind of a dream scenario for them and a nightmare scenario for Seahawks fans because I have them taking Marvin Harrison Jr. here at number 4. Getting another weapon for Kyler Murray, who, let's not forget, he was playing at a really high level a couple years ago before he got hurt. Hasn't really put it all together as a quarterback yet, but you surround him with players like Marvin Harrison Jr., and I really like the receiver they took last year in I can't remember his name right now.
Wilson?
Yeah, Michael Wilson. Yeah, Michael Wilson, like him a lot. So the Cardinals, they were a frisky team last year. They almost beat us last week of the season. Probably should have, if we're being honest. So I think that, for being the 4th worst team in the league last year, this immediately makes them more dangerous getting Marvin Harrison's son.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think that's a very likely, the most likeliest place he will go, because I just think 1 through 3 is, they can say whatever they want. They're all taking quarterbacks, I think. Anyway, at pick number 5, we talked about this before the draft. I didn't realize that the Chargers needed a tackle because I was pretty much focused on the 3 receivers there. And with Harbaugh coming in, I could see him putting more of the weight on Herbert's shoulders and saying, hey, we're not giving you this weapon. You've had that, and look where it's gotten you. You're going to get a guy to protect you, and we're going to run the ball more and, do less 50 pass attempts per game for Justin Herbert. So I think Joe Alt will be the guy going to Los Angeles out of Notre Dame, and he's going to be the big 6'8" man protecting that big gunslinger in Justin Herbert.
I like that a lot. I would do the same thing as we discussed earlier, and I think it's honestly the smarter move for the Chargers because most of the time when you put all the pressure on the quarterback, your team sucks. Like, how often does that actually work?
Yeah.
It kind of worked for the Chiefs this year, but they had a great defense, so it really wasn't the case. Moving on to the Giants, this is sort of a tricky situation because on the one hand, the Giants have all but given up on Daniel Jones, even though they just gave him a bunch of money. Brian Daboll is probably aware he's on the hot seat. This is kind of a tricky franchise to make a move for here because on the one hand, their offensive line was awful last year. You could see Fashanu going here. You could see them just wanting to get a unique weapon in Brock Bowers. I'm just going to do what I think is the most obvious choice here, and that's take Malik Neighbors at number 6. The Giants receiving core, I mean, I hate to just spend undue time shitting on the Giants, but I can't think of one position group on that team besides the defensive interior that I like. And the receiver group I might like the least. I know they drafted that speedster out of Tennessee last year.
Jalen Hyatt?
Yeah, but he didn't really show a whole lot.
No.
It's just not a very impressive receiving core. I feel like as long as Darius Slayton is associated with your wide receiver group, you're in a bad spot. So
I also feel like, to kind of go off of what you were saying, like, they're paying Daniel Jones so much money right now. Why would they take another quarterback in the top 5 or 6?
I don't know, unless there's like a unforeseen way out of that contract. Like you're kind of stuck with him for I think one more year.
Yeah, so you might as well get him a weapon to see, okay, maybe if we get him a top weapon in the draft, he'll produce. Like,
or maybe they just start Drew Lock. I don't know. Like,
yeah, that too.
They could do that. Yeah. But I think Malik Neighbors, I mean, some people actually like him more than Marvin Harrison Jr., and I see it. He is fucking amazing. I think he's better than any receiver that's come out since we've started doing this podcast.
Yeah,
which, by the way, quick pause. This is our 3rd mock draft we've done. This is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Time flies, man. But yeah, I think Malik Neighbors would make the Giants instantly much more watchable, and I hope they do it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think they will. But moving on to pick 7, this was a pretty easy pick. Top player left on the draft board is Fashanu out of Penn State. The Titans desperately need a tackle, so that's where he's going to be going. Tennessee, the boring-ass Titans.
That's exactly what I think they're going to do, too.
Yeah, and that's kind of my explanation. I don't really want to talk about the Titans for too much longer. So.
Yeah, let's just forget about them. So this is a popular pick I see, and I just kind of agree with it. I think the first defensive player off the board is going to come to Atlanta and Dallas Turner. Number 1 edge rusher in this class in a lot of people's minds. There's not necessarily as much of a consensus on that this year as years past, but he's my favorite edge in this class. I think he's awesome. And you look at the Falcons, most of their dynamic players are on the offensive side of the ball. They just got Kirk Cousins. I think it makes sense for them to just load up on the other side of the ball here in Dallas Turner.
For sure. I think Kirk Cousins also making his presence known in Atlanta is going to probably shy them away from the offense because they have him. He's older, more of a leader, and so they're going to load the defensive side of the ball. I like that pick. Next pick, number 9, going on to Chicago, back to Chicago again. This is a pretty easy pick for me to make. I think they're going to I've noticed sort of a trend where teams within the past few years really dive in headfirst into their strengths, like the Lions, for example. They went so heavy offense last draft and kind of surprised a lot of people to the point where we all thought they were idiots. Where, well, look at us now and look at them now.
Yeah, they almost made the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so I think the Bears are going to go with another offensive weapon, and I think they're going to draft Rome Odunze
out of
UW.
I would have taken them there too.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you pair him along with DJ and Keenan Allen and Cole Kmet and DeAndre Swift, and it's like, how can Caleb not succeed? So
yeah, Caleb's going to find himself in the best position a number 1 overall pick quarterback has gone to since I've started watching this sport. This is kind of crazy that the Bears find themselves in a situation because, I mean, yeah, they were the 9th worst team last year, but they were a fringe playoff contender at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So, pretty freaking sweet. Up next is the Jets. This is interesting. This is very interesting because the Jets are a team where you got, nearly at the retirement home Aaron Rodgers starting for your quarterback this year and going to be the starter, but you got, piss pants Zach Wilson behind him that's never going to be anything in the league. And you have an opportunity here to draft the guy that kind of looks like an actor playing Zach Wilson in a movie in J.J. McCarthy. I wasn't thinking about doing this before we started this mock, and I could see right now if the board plays out this way, I bet you the Vikings would be calling the Jets number really, really aggressively here, trying to just move up that one spot.
What kind of trade would they try to? Because they would trade up for the Jets.
Yeah, I don't think we'd do it. Just for the sake of making this easier. I think I'm just gonna have the Jets take Brock Bowers here at number 9.
Really?
But I could see them being a sneaky contender for one of the quarterbacks in this class, because clearly they don't think Zach Wilson is the future. And, I mean, Rodgers already had a season-ending injury last year. He's entering his 40s. You're not getting much more out of the guy. So
Brock Bowers?
Yeah, let's take Brock Bowers here. But part of me really wanted to take J.J. McCarthy here just because I think it'd be kind of interesting. But we're doing Bowers.
Yeah. Now the Vikings.
This
You
is
said,
this is tough for me because I think the Vikings are secretly in love with Penix and not J.J. McCarthy. I think J.J. McCarthy is all media gossip. But this is tough because now it's Vikings, Broncos, Raiders.
What?
Yeah, Kool-Aid McKissick.
Yeah, we'll get there when we get there.
Okay.
And you know what? I got to go with my gut. I know I'm drafting up early and I'm probably going to mess up your draft board, but they're going to draft Michael Penix at number 11.
Wow.
And
That
it's
would
going to be
be
Dante Culpepper, Randy Moss part 2, and it's going to be Penix throwing dimes to JJ.
I'd like to see it because I think that's a situation where Michael Penix could really excel in. But yeah, that would definitely blow a lot of people away at draft day.
There's always
sure.
a random team that blows up everyone's draft board. So.
It does. I mean, think of the Lions last year.
Yeah, they're taking Jahmyr Gibbs at what, 14?
Yeah,
whatever it was. So
yeah, and then they took Jack Campbell with their other first rounder. I think.
Yeah.
Which people were like, he's a third rounder. Interesting move by the Lions, but it worked out for him. So with that in mind, we're gonna stay at the quarterback position for the Broncos here, and we're going to take J.J. McCarthy at number 12. A lot of people, for some reason, think Bo Nix to Sean Payton and the Broncos makes sense. I think you take J.J. here and you sit him behind Stidham for a year. And let him learn, because JJ played like barely any football and he's super young and you don't even really know what he is at this point. But people like the intangibles a lot with this kid. That's not something that we're privy to as outside observers, so it's kind of like, okay, I just have to take your word for it. But he's got a good arm, not a great arm, but like definitely NFL caliber, definitely can make all the throws he needs to make, and some pretty good mobility, so it'd be interesting to see what he does in Sean Payton's offense. Although I kind of just want the Broncos to fucking suck forever, so I will be rooting for him to fail if this happens.
all right, so moving on to pick 13. Raiders, I've got them taking the next tackle off the board in Talise Fuaga. I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Fuaga?
I'm not sure if it is. I apologize if it's not.
From the Oregon State.
But
Yeah,
Oregon State.
That is correct.
Yes. Pretty simple here. I don't know if they're going to overdraft Bo Nix at 13. They already have Gardner Minshew, who's a capable quarterback. If you surround him with good enough players, I mean, he excelled, almost led the Colts to the playoffs last year with virtually not a whole lot at receiver and a running back room that their star running back was injured for most of last year, and they had to rely on Zach Moss, which that he played pretty well. So I think if you get Gardner some talent around him, he can succeed. So I just protect him and get the tackle, and we'll see what happens from there.
I like it. Up next, we got the Saints. This is a franchise that I feel like is just sort of in purgatory right now.
Same.
And I don't think that they can really claw their way out of that anytime soon, especially because they're married to Derek Carr for a while.
Yeah.
So when you're in that situation, what you do is you just take the best player. And looking at the board right now, for me, that would either be Laiatu Latu or Quinion Mitchell. I think let's go with Latu. I think the Saints Pass rush is premium. They got some guys like Cam Hayward, I believe, on their defensive line. It's getting up there in age. So take the best pure pass rusher in this draft, maybe the best edge overall, not the highest upside, but highest floor kind of player. And just get the best player and don't overthink it.
I like it. I feel the same exact way about the Saints. I never know what to do when I land on them because I'm like, you guys are just...
Yeah, I could even consider Bo Nix there, but dude, they have Derek Carr for like 3 more years.
And Bo Nix is already 24, so it's like...
Yeah.
Next pick up... Wow, this is the first mock draft I've done where I don't take Brock Bowers to the Colts. This is a tough one because I almost want the Colts to overdraft a receiver here.
You could. There's still a pretty good one left.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draft up and get Brian Thomas out of LSU. He's at number 20 on the board, I think.
I think Brian Thomas Jr. is really good.
Yeah, I think he's the biggest sleeper and he's not really a sleeper because everyone thinks he's going to go in the first round, but of the first rounders, I think he probably should be in the conversation with the top 3 receivers in the draft, but he just simply is not because he was in the shadow of Malik Neighbors. But LSU is essentially wide receiver university along with Ohio State. So, yeah, I think the Colts are going to get their much needed wide receiver skill player, and they're going to do it through Brian Thomas.
Yeah, and then, you're surrounding your young quarterback at Anthony Richardson with some talent. Josh Downs had a pretty good rookie season. They have that Jelani Woods tight end that's always had a lot of upside, so that's a pretty good skill position around him that they're building there. I like the Brian Thomas Jr. pick there a lot, actually, and I like it even more because right now the Seahawks have the pick of the litter between a really good cornerback, a really good edge, and a really good offensive lineman. Several really good offensive linemen, actually. And if they wanted to go D-tackle, you have Johnny Newton, you have Byron Murphy. And if you want to go safety, you could get the Whitey and Cooper DeJean here. There's all sorts of angles you could take. So I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid.
I wonder how many times people are going to say that.
There's also Terrion Arnold. I don't know if he's on the draft board.
I mean, definitely a good player. I think we just need to – we have a great opportunity here to, number 1, strike the weakest part of our roster, and number 2, take a player that I really like, and number 3, take a player that should be drafted at this position. It's not a reach. And that is Troy Fontenot at 16, the UW offensive tackle. I really want this guy because, for a multitude of reasons, he could be our starting left tackle and potentially, at worst, be like a top 20 offensive left tackle in the league. He could be our starting right tackle in the unfortunate situation where Abraham Lucas's knee doesn't heal in time. He could step right in and be just as good, maybe if not better, than Abraham Lucas is. But right now, he would step in at left guard for us, or right guard, wherever they decide to put him, and just be the best interior offensive lineman on our team from day one. And that's something we haven't really had since the days of Max Unger. So I would be about as excited as I can get for an offensive lineman at this pick if we got Fontenot here.
Same. I'm really hoping that that's who we land. I'm glad that you made that pick and feel the same way because I'm kind of leaning on the offensive side of the line on this draft rather than defensive. Maybe it's just because we just re-signed Leonard Williams. I believe we re-signed Draymond Jones, right?
We already had him under contract.
Okay. We just didn't cut him. Yeah. Okay.
And we still have Jerron Reed. We signed that guy from Dallas to play nose. There's actually quite a few. At a certain point, if you draft another D lineman, it's like, how are these guys all going to play? We drafted Mike Morris last offseason from Michigan, who didn't get to play because he got hurt. So I don't know.
But yeah, good pick. Troy Fontenot, I like it. And then oh, hooray, I get to control the Jaguars.
Enjoy.
I'm just going to be boring with them because they're boring. I'm just going to take Terrion Arnold out of Alabama. They need a cornerback with their shitty fucking secondary, so there you go.
I like it. No complaints for me. The Bengals. Let's go Jared Verse. I feel like they could go all sorts of different angles here, potentially offensive line. But I think if you're sitting there at 18 and edge player as talented as Jared Verse is still there, you probably just snag him. I'm not super up to date with the Bengals roster. Some people think they're going to take a receiver because they might lose not Jamar Chase, but T. Higgins. I think you can lose T. Higgins and be okay, in my opinion, and just pick up receiver later on in the draft. This is a loaded draft at receivers. There's going to be guys in the third round that would have gone in the first last year, potentially. So, yeah, just take it for Jared Verse, and I don't think you'd feel bad about that at all if you're the Bengals.
Yeah, I like the pick. In fact, I'm a little annoyed you made that pick because I wanted to take him with the Rams. But I'm going to take the next edge rusher out of Penn State, Chop Robinson. He's going to be an LA Ram, and he's going to fill the massive void of Hall of Famer Aaron Donald.
God, these are some crazy names.
Yeah.
Chop Rob.
They're only going to get crazier the older
It's
we
like
get.
that fucking sketch from Key and Peele. Yeah, that's,
Jaquarius Bucktooth.
Like Kool-Aid. I can't get over Kool-Aid. That's the first time I saw that.
I'm not drafting him.
He's like the new Ha Clinton did.
Like that guy was born and his parents were like Kool-Aid. Are you kidding me?
I think it's a nickname
gotta
he
be a
gave
nickname.
himself, like Sauce Gardner.
Or like C.D. Lamb.
Yeah.
Stupid.
You're up, Ryan, at pick 20 for
So
the
the Steelers, who will be starting Russell Wilson, they just drafted Joey Porter Jr. last year, but I kind of feel like they have an opportunity here to pair him with Quinion Mitchell, and I think that's something I could really see Mike Tomlin doing, is just, as you kind of did with the Bears, just loading up on what you're already pretty good at, which is defense. Mm-hmm. So let's take Quinion Mitchell, my personal favorite corner in this draft. Really aggressive, got the size measurables and everything you'd want in a corner, size, speed, and can play in the run game. So he'd fit right in, and that would give the Steelers a pretty formidable secondary.
Yeah. And we all have seen Russell Wilson thrive with a great defense.
Yeah.
So I like the pick. I like the pick a lot. At pick 21, I kind of have a weird feeling the Dolphins are going to be going similarly to the Bears and the Steelers, going with the side of the ball that they already thrive in. And I think they're going to draft a receiver potentially higher than they should. And I think they're going to probably go with the speedster and pair him alongside Tyreek Hill, and they're going to go with Xavier Worthy.
Wow. That would be crazy.
Yep.
Right here, Xavier.
Him, Waddle, and Tyreek Hill, as the three receivers said. That is so much speed.
Yeah. So I think the Dolphins, I think they're going to be hard to cover next year. They might even break their 70-point record against the Broncos, but we'll see.
Oh, yeah, that would be pretty wild. The Eagles coming up here. So the Eagles are interesting because their defense was their Achilles heel last season, but they've drafted defense a bunch in the last week. They took two top defensive linemen in Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith last year in the first round. Obviously, Jalen Carter had a great rookie season, but Nolan Smith I know didn't play much. I just feel like...
Do you want to know their team needs?
What does it say that they
Corner,
are?
linebacker, safety, receiver, and edge.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, that's kind of cool. It says that right there.
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing that they're not saying about the Eagles is they have to replace Jason Kelsey. So I have them taking Jackson Powers Johnson here.
Oh, okay.
Center out of Oregon.
Interesting, yeah. That's a good pick.
Little high for a center, but not that high. And, I mean, you just lost a Hall of Famer, so you might want to fill that position.
Yeah.
If I'm the Eagles. And teach him how to do the tush push.
Yeah. You also want him to protect the guy you just paid a shitload of money in Saquon Barkley, so...
Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about Hurts.
Him too, but like we all know he needs to be protected. Like that's a no given. But all right, back to Minnesota, where they pick at number 23, and I could see them in the real draft. Just this pick being a trade piece to get a quarterback that isn't Michael Penix potentially, but this is the parallel universe we're living in where they're actually going to use this pick on a player. And I kind of think that they're going to go secondary with this pick, specifically corner. And I got them taking Nate Wiggins out of Clemson.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not like super up to speed on Nate Wiggins, but the position makes sense for the Vikings.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be funny, Jonah, if you added in like the sound effects of like the song they play when they're like gonna get drafted.
Up next with the Cowboys. So I can't remember. I think his name is Tyron Smith. The Cowboys released after a long time this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're gonna go offensive tackle, and they're gonna take Amarius Mims out of Georgia, slide in and take over that hole that was left by his departure.
Nice. Yeah, I could see the Cowboys because they had a pretty quiet offseason. They've barely done anything. I could see them using the draft as well to not draft the shiny new toys, but to get the necessary pieces that maybe aren't as popular or pretty, and that's offensive line and defensive line. So, yeah, I like the pick. For Green Bay, this is kind of I guess this isn't that tough. They need a tackle. I did have them taking this guy in one of their drafts, and you know what? I'm just going to have them take him again. Cooper DeJean out of Iowa, the safety. He is going to the Green Bay Packers.
Man, that would suck for me because I like that player, and I hate the Packers, so it would be hard to watch him in the green and gold. But it would make sense for them, and I think he's going to be – part of me hopes we take him at 16, honestly. I think he's really a special player, but good for the Packers if they get him there. Up next with the Buccaneers, what does it say their needs are? I'm not too privy.
Edge, corner, center, guard, receiver.
Okay. Well, let's take Adonai Mitchell out of Texas because I actually think he's better than Xavier Worthy. I think Adonai Mitchell's like he kind of reminds me of CeeDee Lamb a little bit. Maybe not that talented, but just similar style and crazy explosiveness. So that gives another weapon next to Mike Evans for Baker to throw to. And yeah, I think the Bucs would be having a good time if they walked out of there with him.
Nice. I think solid pick. Bucs. The Bucs are kind of a weird team. They're like kind of like the Saints for me. I'm like they're better than the Saints, but I'm like I don't know what you guys need.
Yeah.
But
and is Baker good? Is he bad? What's going on?
Next up with the Cardinals. I got them going D-line on this pick. They seem to need tackles and edge rushers, but I'm going to go with defensive tackle Johnny Newton out of Illinois. He's one of the top defensive tackles to go projected in the first round, so I'm going to have him going to Arizona.
I like it. Yeah, that's a player that I would also like. I wouldn't be ecstatic, but if we took him at 16, Johnny Newton, I'd be like, that's a good player.
Yeah.
So, makes sense. Man, Cardinals would be a lot better if they got those two guys, and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Johnny Newton.
Yep.
Ouch. Up next with the Bills. So I'm going to do something that this particular board doesn't agree with here, but I think this is what the Bills are going to end up doing. And you might need to scroll a little bit here, but I think that the Bills are going to take a wide receiver out of Georgia named Ladd McConkey. This guy is a route running technician. Already will be one of the best route runners in the league, and he ran a 4.3 at the combine. So it's not like he's slow. And I think that the Bills just really needed another weapon with Stephon Diggs going away. So, yeah, moving on to the Lions.
Nice. I didn't expect you to be so high on the lad, but yeah, that's interesting. I mean, we did kind of all the receivers are gone from like the top 6, so
yeah,
that makes sense.
I thought that maybe a different receiver would be left there, but yeah,
hey, that's the
a
way
lot
it
of
goes.
people. What it comes down to is a lot of people like Keon Coleman. I don't. I think he's going to be bad. I feel like he's the same thing as the guy the Chargers drafted last year.
Oh, the guy out of
The TCU receiver.
yeah.
I can't even remember his name.
Quentin Johnston.
Yeah, he gives me Quentin Johnston vibes.
That's fair. He does play in the ACC, and the ACC is objectively not as good as the SEC or the Pac-12. So
Yeah.
If you have a T in Johnson, like, what are you doing? Sorry, I'm a name picker.
All right, so up next we got the Lions. And in a lot of mocks, I have them taking an edge rusher here, but there doesn't seem to really be an edge rusher around. So we're going to go with another guy that can help out Chucky Manchild on the edge, and or on the D-line, and that I'm referring to, I forgot his name.
Aiden Hutchinson.
Aiden Hutchinson. Yeah.
Oh,
he looks like
yeah.
Chucky.
Wait, what position?
He's an edge rusher, but I'm going to take defensive tackle Byron Murphy. Sorry, I made that really confusing.
Yeah, I was like, who the fuck is Chucky Manchild?
Like, guys, you're fucking with me.
Just take Byron Murphy out of Texas, and your job will be done.
Thank you.
Yeah. Adding to the pieces on the noticeably not as strong other side of the ball for the Lions and their defense.
Bo Nix has not been taken.
Yeah. Well, there's not really a team that needs a quarterback left in the first round.
I think in our draft he's not going to be a first rounder.
Yeah, but
Which could very well happen. He's kind of a second round type player, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and then Ryan, to you with the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, and this one is a little
Wide receiver. Wait, what's OG?
Offensive guard,
Oh.
edge, safety, offensive tackle.
Yeah, they could take Graham Barton and play him at guard potentially. I don't feel like they're gonna do that though.
Hey, Kool-Aid.
There's also J.C. Latham out of Alabama.
Tackle.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's cool. They get player info.
Could you go to J.C. Latham's profile real quick? Just do what you just did for Kool-Aid, but for him.
Yeah, that's
6'5", 342. You know, I could see a player like that moving over to guard, even though they played tackle. He's not too tall, and he's big. So I feel like if you take J.C. Latham and you move him to right guard and just have him kind of be a mauling run blocker, I could see that working out. Yeah, and you know, when you think of Baltimore, you think of physicality.
Yeah.
And let's do it. Let's take J.C. Latham, but with the thought in mind that he's going to be a guard, not a tackle.
Right. Next up for the San Francisco 49ers, we're going to have them take the longly anticipated, longly awaited Kool-Aid McKinstry
Oh, now we're talking.
to bolster up that shitty San Fran secondary that has probably been their weakest spot, a part of their defense. And they're going to take a big sip of that Kool-Aid at 31, and he's going to be a 49er.
Wow.
I like it.
And it serves the 49ers right.
All right, and rounding out the first round, we got the Super Bowl champion Chiefs. Could use a wide receiver. You know, I could see Keon Coleman going here, actually, because I think if he goes somewhere with a quarterback with as good as ball placement as Patrick Mahomes, I could see him being good because he's not a receiver that gets a ton of separation, but he's got good hands.
Yeah.
So let's go Keon Coleman to the Chiefs. And I think that's one of the few places where he could actually end up being pretty dang good at.
Nice.
And this concludes our first round mock draft.
Yes.
Did you have a favorite pick that came up as the board was going?
Well,
that's cool, this full, so I'm just gonna take a picture of this just so you know.
yeah, and then we can use it as the thumbnail. But yeah, so favorite pick. I think my favorite pick, I probably overdrafted this guy, but I think Brian Thomas to the Colts was probably my.
I really like that one too.
I could see that actually playing out into a real situation where, because I mean, remember last year how the 4 receivers they just went 1 through 4.
Yeah, I'm kind of think the same thing actually. I think that's my favorite pick. This was fun. I like the way that this board played out. I think a lot of this could end up happening, honestly. But once you get past 10, and even including 10, it's kind of hard to predict what's going to happen because so many teams, teams like the Jets, teams like the Saints, teams like the Giants, they could all end up surprising you taking a quarterback. You never know, we could be overrating half these quarterbacks and only 2 of them go in the first round. It's so hard. It's so hard to predict with what the media does with draft.
That's kind of why I didn't take the Vikings to draft McCarthy, because I personally have felt like he's been the media's golden child. They're trying to force that so hard since the end of the season. I mean, there's a reason why half of football fans are like, JJ McCarthy isn't a first round talent. And no, most of these people that are saying that aren't NFL analysts or football analysts, but
they have eyes.
But there's there's the analytics you can fall into and do your research on, and then there's the eye test, which you can't help but be biased towards because that's what we have to go off of most of the time. So that was just kind of my thought process on the Penix, and I'm a little biased because I got a lot to watch. I got to watch a lot more of Penix tape because I watched more UW games than I did Michigan games. So that's just kind of my things. And J.J. McCarthy could be great. I mean, him going to the Broncos, I could see him thriving there because I could see, Sean Payton just surrounding him with what he needs in order to succeed. So...
Yeah, I hope he goes there and sucks. Personally.
Are you talking about JJ?
Yeah. I think Michael Penix, if he went to the Vikings, that would be maybe one of the best landing spots for him because especially throwing to JJ, Justin Jefferson is still probably the best receiver in the league. And Michael Penix's intermediate to deep ball is his best trait, right?
He would also get to play in a dome half the time.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, and their line is not bad by any stretch,
yeah.
So he'd get decent protection. I think he would make a lot more sense there than with us, for example, because
him to the Seahawks never made sense to me, especially mainly only because of the
Howell
trade. Yeah, I almost said Sam Darnold.
I wouldn't be surprised if we took a swing on a quarterback in the 5th round or something like that. Just because John always talks about drafting quarterbacks but never does it.
Yeah.
But it seems very redundant when you have Sam Howell on the roster. So
agree.
Especially with the contract he has, which is pennies for the NFL.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the size of it. We got 1 week left. It's getting super close. Definitely probably more excited for this year's draft than, I guess maybe not than the last couple of years because we had top 10 picks, but still, look at the way this board shakes out. The Seahawks are going to get a top 10 talent at 16 if the quarterbacks go on a run, which I kind of think will happen.
And the receivers could go on a run, too. Who knows? Yeah. There could be 4 receivers taken before we even get to us. Or I guess that's how it planned out, but 5 even. Someone could get... The Bills could trade up. They need a receiver really bad.
The draft is next week?
Next Thursday,
yeah.
We should do a live stream.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Right?
That would be fun.
Sweet.
That'd be cool, yeah.
It's pretty fun to set up there. And
yeah.
then that could just be the podcast.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, we'll see you then. It's going to be a good time. Thanks for listening. Jonah, any closing thoughts?
Nope. Just looking forward to seeing where everyone goes, especially the quarterbacks, even though they're not relative to the Seahawks. I just like seeing how the NFL changes every year and seeing all the teams fluctuate and, you know, who swings and misses, who swings and hits a home run, all the whole 9 yards. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where these high-level talents go. Very exciting.
Yeah, and we're definitely at a point in the NFL right now where we're in a transition period with the quarterback position. Like all the legends that we grew up with and were, you know, teenagers, young adults with, you know, like Wilson is in his late 30s now.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk Cousins is going to be 36 this year. These guys probably only have like 2 or 3 years, like 4 at the most. So this crop of quarterback class is going to be like, if it works out and isn't like, you know, the 2022 or 2021 classes, these are tomorrow's guys that are coming in to take those spots. So it's a very interesting time being an NFL fan, I think.
Right. Yeah, well, that's pretty much all I had for this one. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you guys next week, a couple days before draft time.
Yep. See you then.